Hi, this is AJ, and this is Steve Kaufman of Link.
Yep.
We're finally meeting. We're here in Osaka, Japan.
And we've known each other for about 13 years.
14 years. Yeah, I actually, just before I started Effortless English, I worked as a tutor on your site for a short time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right you are. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And Steve was just in Japan speaking at a polyglot conference.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct,
Yes.
yeah.
Which means many languages, so
Right.
people who speak.
Poly is Greek for many, and glot is tongue, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
And right now,
Yep.
I'm really quite fascinated by the fact that you're learning 3 languages at the same time right now.
Correct.
Because I get this question all the time, and I
Right.
used to say, "Oh, just focus on English."
So did I. I used to say that.
Okay, and so you've changed your opinion. If you could
Yes.
talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So, my experience in learning both French and Mandarin Chinese, which were the 2 first languages that I went at heavily,
Yeah.
was that I went at them, very single-mindedly. I spent a lot of time, very intensely, very intensively, and I always thought that you really had to have that degree of focus in a language. All right. But, and maybe because I've learned a few languages, and because I'm more curious now, I started Arabic, and then because I've now learned the Arabic script, well, why not Farsi or Persian? We have a lot of Iranians in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then my wife was watching a Turkish soap opera on Netflix. So then I said, geez, I gotta learn this language.
Yeah.
And so I'm becoming a little more of an explorer of languages. And what I am finding is, and also the last few languages that I've learned, I haven't really taken them to that, call it the C1 level. I learned Greek so that I could go to Greece and converse in Greek. I learned Romanian so that I could go to Romania. But if you come at me in Greek or Romanian now, I would have a lot of trouble saying anything, although I understand them quite well. But what I have found now, time and time again, if I am working on one language and then I leave that language and I go do another language, when I come back to the first language, that first language is clearer.
Yeah.
I've had it many times. And I mentioned it to a Japanese lady who has a school, and she's had the same experience. And increasingly, I'm beginning to understand that because the brain, and this was in a book that Manfred Spitzer, who is a German cognitive, science, brain scientist, the brain requires repetition and novelty. We also know, and there's a professor at UCLA, Robert York, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I'm not.
But this idea that we can't block learn things. So that if you're sort of reading a word list, or you're reading your history assignment, and you're reading it over and over and over again, you're learning less and less. You're retaining less and less.
Yes.
We've got to move around. You've got to give the brain a bit of a break. You've got to give the brain some novelty. And so that's perhaps a factor. And the other thing is, if I struggle with a new and difficult language, then it's as if we increase the weight that we're lifting, and then we go back to the lighter weights, and they seem very light.
Yes.
So you go back to things that you were doing. Like I had the experience with, I was listening to these Chinese storyteller, telling the romance of the 3 kingdoms, right?
Yeah.
Chinese storyteller. Great stuff, by the way, when you get into Chinese. Trouble understanding it a bit. I knew many of the words, but I wasn't clicking in. And then I had to do a lot of business in Sweden, so I spent like 6 months on Swedish, listening to Swedish audiobooks, like all Swedish. And then I went to Sweden, and then I came home, and I put on the Chinese CD, and I understood it better.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
there is an element there. I'm not sure how, and there's a bit of, obviously, if I spend that much time on, say, if I'm doing whatever time I spend on Persian, I'm not spending on Arabic.
Right.
So you're losing that. On the other hand, maybe you are developing the flexibility of the brain, the language learning fitness of the brain, your ability to notice things. So there's a compensation.
Like some kind of general ability or something.
Cross-training type of thing.
Right.
I don't have a conclusion yet, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying doing the 3
Yeah.
rather than having to, my original plan was to go 3 months, 3 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
But that means it's
then
9
you're
months
break,
before I come back.
Yeah,
so I am enjoying it. I can't give you any scientific results yet. I learn languages for enjoyment.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying doing it. I'm not really slipping in any of the languages. I think it's something worth trying. And I've now heard a number of people like Luca Lamporiella. Do you know
Yes,
Luca?
I do.
Who's a first-class
Yes.
polyglot. He said that he was trying to learn 3 languages at the same time. So the person who's struggling to learn the first language may not necessarily want to do it.
Right.
On the other hand, you see people like here in Japan who've been learning English forever
Yeah.
and feel that they aren't making any progress.
Right.
So they may want to try just to go and do some Spanish or Chinese, then come back to their English and see how they react.
Oh, and I was just, I was telling you that I, influenced by you watching your videos on YouTube, that I decided to. I watched one of your videos and I said, I'm going to test this right now.
Right.
I had 4.5 years, no Spanish. So I went in, I listened to your audio, your book in Spanish, which I used to listen to 4.5 years ago.
Right.
And I was, very happily surprised and shocked how much I could still understand.
Right.
4.5, nothing, zero Spanish. And just to go in and I'm just listening, I'm getting the gist by far, but I'd say I probably still understood 90%.
Yeah.
After 4.5, and it was instantly motivating because I thought, he's right, we don't lose it.
No, we don't lose it.
And we get there better somewhere.
And we get better. And we get better very quickly.
Do you find, I think that probably if I had to, assess my own Spanish with that gap, probably the speaking is where I would say I slip the most, where it's maybe the most rusty.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And speaking, if you don't speak, you slip.
Yeah.
Even if you're listening, you still have to speak well, you have to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But if you were put in a situation where you have the need or the opportunity to speak, it'll come back very quickly. I'm quite convinced.
Right.
But if you don't have the opportunity to speak, your speaking is going to slip.
Yeah.
It may take a day or two.
I see.
I never worry about it. I'm not a circus performer.
Mm-hmm.
If you come at me in Greek right now, I'll be lost.
Right.
It's fine.
Right. Interesting. Now, another thing I'd like to talk to you about, because it's something I've been using myself. So I'm mostly focused on Japanese now, and my main content is the Link mini stories, in Japanese, And I know you've also a big fan of mini stories. Can you talk about why? Why are they powerful?
They are powerful. I owe credit to you because you were, before we ever did them, you were doing these point of view stories, mini stories, point of view stories, whatever you call them.
Yep.
Oscar.
Yes.
What do you call himself? Simple Spanish or something?
Unlimited Spanish.
Unlimited Spanish.
Yes.
He does them.
Yes.
Piotr. Polish.pl.
Oh, that's right. I've heard. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So I saw these people. I said we should do that. So I had some stories written up, which we then translated into 30-odd languages for Link. And I've used them now for 5 languages. What we did in our stories, I deliberately asked them to be written using the most common verbs.
Yeah.
Because verbs, if you want to say anything, you need verbs.
Right.
You can point to stuff. And the nouns could be anything. We don't know. But want, go, come, give, take, need, hope, wish. All these common verbs are so key. And there is so much repetition in each story. And the tense may change or the person may change. And then we have questions. So we have the story in 2 points of view.
Yes.
And then we have questions. And again, I have always been against comprehension questions.
Yeah.
Because it forces me to remember to think of the story. So I'm no longer dealing with language. Now I'm dealing with that. I don't remember why did Mrs. Jones say that. I can't remember. I don't want to know. I'm not interested. Leave me alone.
Right.
I understood it wrong. So what if I understood it wrong?
Right.
So the question we say, John went to the store. Did John go to the store? Yes, John went to the store.
Right.
Or, John went to the store. Did John go to the school? No, John didn't go to the school. He went to the store. Very simple.
Yes.
So it's just essentially more exposure.
Exactly.
So what you're getting in each mini story is the same phrase plus some questions of that phrase.
Right.
Which can be did he or how much or how many or when. You're getting questions. You're getting the same vocabulary. You're getting some because type of things.
Right.
Why, because, therefore. You're getting the basic structures with so much repetition. I find that it's not tremendous. Like there could be 3,000 words in there. I don't know the way we count them at Link. Maybe there's 3,000 words. Yeah. That's not a huge vocabulary, but you're getting a lot of. It's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
You're training yourself, and you can start as a total beginner, as you've done in Japanese, as I've done in Persian, Arabic, Turkish, Greek, You start in the beginning, it's noise.
Yep.
And very quickly, you're
It
getting,
just
yeah.
starts
So
there.
I think I'm a great fan of the mini stories, and I owe you.
Well, you know, and I owe
sense of gratitude.
Blaine Ray. I don't know if you know
yes,
Blaine Ray.
and he I understand began that. So
Yes.
But I should add that there's something about language learning. You know, we all learn, contribute, copy, do whatever, and the gist of it is to you know, it's input.
Yes.
What kind of input? There's different forms of input. It's not about being tested.
Right.
It's not about forcing you to speak. It's about input.
Yes,
and
indeed.
So we're all happy to copy each other.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly right. Well, we'll do a longer interview when you get back to Vancouver, and we'll go even more depth with all this.
And now we're going to go to dinner.
Let's go to dinner. All
okay.
right.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.